right, just really quick, all my snorers in the house, let me know you're here, all right? Anybody snoring here? Okay, all right. Most of y'all probably don't even know you snore, but you probably snore, right? We have a competition in our house, my wife and I, of who can fall asleep the quickest, because the other one doesn't want to be awake while the other one falls asleep, because I'm a snorer and she's like a talker, mumbler when she falls asleep, right? So and then I can't fall asleep, and then she can't fall asleep because I'm snoring. I didn't know I was a snorer until I got married, but apparently I'm a snorer. I sleep on my back. That's where I'm the most comfortable. Like, I get to sleep on my back, which I guess is like the correct position to sleep, but my mouth is open, so I snore, all right? So, none of us are perfect. So that's where I get my real rest. We'll wake up the next morning, I'll be like, man, I fell right asleep. She's like, I know, you were snoring immediately, right? That's where I found my rest, right? So here's my quick question to you guys. How many of you in the past month have had a moment where you've just been like, man, I'm tired, I'm worn out? Has there been anything physically, just mentally, maybe something like that? There may be some of you in here this morning, maybe you're carrying something pretty heavy right now. Maybe there's some heavy stuff happening in your life, stuff that maybe some people don't even know about. Maybe you're struggling with something that you're hiding really well, or something that you're telling yourself, it's not that bad, but in reality, it's starting to weigh you down. It's really starting to tear you up. I want you to know this morning that what's been great about this whole series that we've been talking about is that the wonderful thing about Jesus is that he takes this idea of religion, and what religion tends to do, it takes those moments when we feel weary and we feel tired and we feel worn out and we feel like we have this heavy lifting we have to do. Religion actually adds on, it tacks on to every bit of that, but Jesus actually flips that. And so that's why when Jesus was talking about this whole idea of religion versus what he was creating and what he came to this earth to do, he was very clear about that. And if you guys needed any clear idea about what Jesus meant by this idea of understanding that it wasn't about religion, but it was about the relationship you were to have with him, I want you to see this passage. This was Jesus in Matthew 23. He calls out those people who were the religious law keepers and the rule makers, and those people who were doing all the right things on the outside and in everyone's eyes. Here's what he actually said in Matthew 23. If you have any questions about where Jesus was coming from, he answers that towards the end of Matthew. He says this. It says, when Jesus saw the crowds, he said to the crowds and his disciples, the teachers of the religious law and the Pharisees are the official interpreter of the law of Moses. So he's calling out the Pharisees and the lawmakers, right? He's talking to these guys who tell everybody what the rules are, all right? He's calling them out. And as he gets to that, he says, so practice and obey whatever they tell you. And you're like, okay. There are the rules, follow the rules. Jesus, finally, they're like this. Thank goodness, we've been waiting for him to say this, right? Here are the rules, follow the rules, and we can all get along, right? Let's just do what we say, and everything will be fine. But what does he say after that? He says, do whatever they tell you, but don't follow their example. What was their example? They don't practice what they teach. Check this out. They crush people with unbearable religious demands and never lift a finger to ease the burden. So in this moment, as Jesus is talking about what all these things were, these religious upkeepings and these things that were meant to help and that were meant to ease the pain and to help with the burden, what they have now done is they have tacked on to that and said, listen, you got to keep these rules, and if you keep these rules, now you have to figure it out yourself. You're on your own. It's on you. And it says he says that they never even lift a finger to help ease the burden and the pain of religious expectations that were put onto them, not by God, but by man. And because those things are happening, Jesus says, they don't practice what they teach. Don't follow their example. See what they're doing and understand that they want to teach you all these things, but it's to hold you down, not to set you free. Jesus came to set us free from that. And today, as we finish this series up and as we're talking about all this means, I hope that you and I are able to find some form of rest in what Jesus is talking about. Because that's what it's all about, is being able to find rest in Him. You see, that was the whole point of all this, was for us to find rest. See, when God created this whole thing, what did God do? Once He created all this world, what did He do? He rests. Why? Not because God needed to rest, because God was setting up the example for the people that He loved and that He cared for. And He said, listen, rest is going to help you. Rest is going to help you thrive and to live this life, because it's a form of worship to rest in me. And so He creates this thing, but what ends up happening? Instead of it becoming this thing that is to help us, instead of becoming this thing that's going to ease our pain, what do we do as religious people? We take that on and we say, Sabbath, Sabbath, Sabbath. You have to follow the rules. Jesus came here and He said, listen, they start getting on, they say, you can't heal on the Sabbath. You guys can't get that stuff to eat on the Sabbath. You can't do. They start throwing all these rules out at Jesus. And Jesus is like, hold up. We're not doing this. That is not the point of any of this. Jesus came to flip the idea of hustle and work, for us to understand that rest is found in Him. He offers us rest. Look at what He says here. As He's praying to God and as He's talking about what's going to happen to all these cities and these nations if they don't turn to God, as He's talking about all these things, He then, towards the end of the chapter, He turns to all these people, and what does He say? What does Jesus give as an invitation to all these people that are hearing Him now in this moment? He says it here in Matthew 11. Follow along with me. He says this. Jesus said, "Come to me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. Let me teach you, because I am humble and gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy to bear, and the burden that I give you is light." Now, I asked you earlier if you ever felt weary or felt like something's kind of weighing you down and stuff like that. And I don't know about what your childhood was like, but I'm just going to be honest with you. My childhood was awesome. I mean, I look back on, they were some of the fondest memories. And we're this weird, any millennials that are in the house, we're the weird generation. Why do you think all this movies and all the stuff that they make now, we're the weird Disney adults, right? Like, we're the ones that's like, why are grown men and women going to Disney by themselves? Because we're all like, man, our childhood was awesome. I want to feel that again. I would just want to feel something. That's why we do those things. And honestly, I loved my childhood. So when I was growing up, and I read this, I grew up in church. I grew up hearing these things. I remember reading that when I was a kid, and I was like, I don't need rest. What is rest? Like, I'm fine. I don't have anything weighing me down. I don't feel like I'm carrying any burdens. I don't feel like there's anything holding me down. But now, as an adult, as a 40-year-old, there's a lot of stuff that I look and I'm like, man, I'd like some rest. I would like a little bit of relief. I would like a little bit of calm, a little bit of peace in my life every now and then. And sometimes it's stuff that I can control, and sometimes it's things that I can contain and try to figure out. But there's other things, sometimes it's just out of your control. And you're just like, I don't know what's up and what's down. I don't know how to control this. I don't know where I'm going to find my answers. And we get out of control, and we wonder what we're going to do because we feel like the weight of the world is on our shoulders, and we find no relief. But what we find here in Scripture, what we find from Jesus, is not this list of rules and expectations, not a check for us to, or a list for us to check off. But in actuality, what He gives us is an invitation for rest. Who are the people invited to this? Who are the people who are allowed to be a part of this? He says, come to me, all of you, every one of you. He calls it to the people who are having issues, those who are having problems. He's calling out to the people who are following the law and following the rules, and those who think that they have it all together, yet they feel bogged down by every single bit of the things that are holding them back and unable to live up to that standard. He is calling out everyone and saying that you are qualified to be a part of that. He says that there is no cleanup required. He says that there is no checklist that you must take away in order to be a part of this. No, everybody is invited. And what is offered to every single one of us? Rest. No one has ever done this before. No one has ever looked as a leader, as a religious leader in this moment, and said, come to me because what you will get from me is rest. No, when other people, when other rabbis, when other teachers, when those came, they say, you come to me and guess what? I'll teach you how to be strict. I'll teach you how to follow the rules. I'll teach you how to be accepted by God. I will teach you all these things because that's what it's going to take. But then Jesus comes along and says, if you follow me, I will give you rest. Do you realize how rebellious and crazy this was? Do you realize how different this was from every single thing that was ever said before? Jesus was offering rest. So for every single one of us, if that's the promise that is given to us, is that, because I'll be honest with you, if you're promising me at the end of this that I get rest, that I get peace, that sounds like something I want. That sounds like something that would be awesome to have. So how do I get these things? What does Jesus say in order for us to find rest? Because in my life and in your life, it's not always that easy. You don't always feel at rest. You guys ever like me? Sometimes you lay in your bed at night and it's hard as a rock and you're like, I'm never going to fall asleep. But then you wake up in the morning and it's just like, I am sleeping on a cloud and I'm never leaving this bed, right? Why does that happen? Why sometimes can we feel like we've had no rest? Because maybe we're finding rest in other things. So maybe we could find a rest for our real lives every single day. Here's a couple things that I think, as we see what Jesus is talking about here, can help us get to that point in our life to find that rest. The first thing that I think we have to be able to see is Jesus is flipping all this stuff as he's done from the beginning. The first thing we have to see is that there has to be presence over performance. There's presence that is given over the performance that we think we have to put on. What does he say? He says, then Jesus said, come to me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens. What does he tell us to do? He says, come to me. You see, every single one of us, when we first are met with this idea of spiritual unrest, or we're living in this life of just being weary and torn down by all the expectations and all the things that we have to do, what are we usually met with? Do more. Act more right. Do all the right things. You have to be able to do those things in order to be able to find yourself in a place to be acceptable to God. But what we see from him is his invitation starts from the very beginning when he says, come to me. That is usually not our very first step. He says, come to me before you go to everything else. He says, before anything else ever comes up, come to me. My son, he'll be here the 11th. Today is his 15th birthday. He turns 15 today. 15 years old. And so a couple years ago, we had the father-son talk, right? And we had that father-son talk, and here's how I ended it. From wisdom from people here that I love and that I respect, and from other people in my life, what I've learned just in my own life, one thing I wanted him to know, after we talked about life, we talked about relationships, we talked about all this stuff, because he's living in a world that I could have never even imagined for myself when I was 12, 13 years old. At the end of this whole conversation, as we ended it, I wanted him to know, out of every single thing that we talked about and all the complications of life that will come his way and the mistakes that he's bound to make, I wanted him to know that at the end of the day, if he ever made mistakes, that I prayed that his reaction would not be, I can't tell Dad. I have to hide this from Dad. I want his first reaction to be, I better call Dad. You see, Jesus, when he's coming to these guys right now, and they're talking about all the religious expectations and all the rules that they have to follow, Jesus says that what he wants him to do is come to him. He doesn't say, go to the tabernacle. He doesn't say go to the temple. He doesn't say follow all these rules. He doesn't say do all these things. The first step is to come to Jesus. And so today, if you truly want to be able to find a spot in your life where you can find rest, understand it's not going to be relied on your performance. But it's actually understanding the presence that we have with Jesus. Jesus says that if we come to him, he is with us. He dwells in us. It's about presence over anything that we could ever perform or do. Jesus says, come to me. Why does he want us to do that? Because he's gentle. He's not harsh. He doesn't come with judgment. He's humble. He's not proud. This is the God that we serve. So if we come with that understanding of his presence, knowing that we are to come to him, what does that mean for us now? Maybe then we can start to learn a little bit about pace over pressure, right? Now that we know that it's not about our performance, now we feel sometimes like this. It's like, okay, Jesus, thank you for saving me. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for accepting me, even though I know I don't deserve it. But now I got to keep up. I got to keep up with it. I got to keep up appearances. I got to make sure that I'm doing all these things right. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to do everything that I can. But what does he says? Come to me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. You see, one thing that I've learned about Jesus, if you look at his life, you know, he was only on this earth and did all these amazing things in 3.5 years, roughly 3.5 years, right? And one thing that you find from Jesus is that he's never in a hurry. This kind of blows my mind. Jesus, with 3.5 years, knowing that soon he is going to be, he knows he's going to be delivered to these guys and everything's going to go sideways and he's going to have to make the ultimate sacrifice for all of his friends that he has made and all these people who have been healed, all these people, he's going to be doing this. And yet Jesus was not in a hurry. How many times over and over in the New Testament as Jesus is walking someone who needs help and Jesus stops and says, we have to stop. And they go, no, Jesus, we got a mission. We got to keep going. He says, hold up. I have something I have to do here. And they're like, no, Jesus, we got to be in a hurry. We got to get going. Or it'd be early in the morning and it'd be like, okay, we got to get going. And then Jesus, all of a sudden they're like, y'all know where Jesus went? Where'd he go? Next thing you know, he's off by himself talking to his Father. And they're like, no, Jesus, we got work to do. We have so many things to do. Jesus understood the concept of resting in his Father and resting in his love. He understood this concept so much that he wanted us to understand it. And so that it was no longer about the pressure of making sure that we are walking as fast as we can, but it's with walking with him, walking in his pace. It's understanding that it's this unforced, true feeling of a rhythm that we have with Jesus every single day, right? Let's be honest. Let's be honest about our religious lifestyle sometimes, right? Some days we're killing the game. Some days you bring up your C3 app, you read the reading that day, and you're like, all right, I'm off to a good start. You pray, you talk to Jesus, you're like, all right, I'm on top of this thing today, right? Maybe you went to C3 this morning, and you're like, man, the message wasn't good, but the songs were great, everything was awesome, right? I'm off to a good start today. Then one thing goes sideways, and then you get busy. Then you get tore up about something you didn't see coming. The next thing you know, you're like, all right. Then the next day, you do absolutely nothing. The next day, you're living just for yourself. The next day, you're just doing all you want to do. And then you find yourself, you're like, oh, gosh, I can't believe I messed up again. And then you start over, and you're like, okay, I'm going to kill the game today. I'm going to do everything right today. I'm going to say all the things I need to say. I'm going to live my life for Jesus' day. And that day, you're like on top of the world because you're like, we did it. Spiritually, you're just like, right, yeah, we did it. And then maybe you're there for a couple days, and you fall right back off. Next thing you know, you're on this spiritual roller coaster. You can't find that constant rhythm, that constant pace that we're supposed to have. But Jesus was not in a hurry because hurry hurts, but the pace is actually what heals. I don't lift often. I know you guys can't tell, but I don't lift often. But when I try to lift, right, I remember a couple years ago, I wanted to get into lifting, and I was doing pretty good on it, but then I got to the point where I was like, I got to get out of here. Like, I got to finish quick, right? So what do? I remember going to the gym, and I was just working out by myself one day, and I had this list of exercises that I was going to do. And you know what I started doing? Because I had to get out of there? Doing it as fast as I can. Just doing all the as quick as I can. And I remember some dude, and I was offended at the time, but I remember some guy was standing there, and he comes over, he's like, hey, dude, can I tell you something? And I was like, yeah, what's up? He's like, you're doing that way too fast. And I was like, oh, yeah, I know, but I got to go. He's like, no. He's like, you don't understand. He's like, you're doing that way too fast, so you might as well just go home. And I was like, well, what do you mean? He's like, you're going so fast that you're not allowing the weight to actually like do anything for you, so you're kind of just wasting your time. This is what we do often with our pace. We go so fast and we think that we're actually progressing, but what it's doing, it's actually just wasting our time, because now we're going to be back into a bad space right after that. You see, hurry actually hurts, but pace is what is going to heal us. It's doing things on a constant pace. Jesus was never in a hurry. And we see this, and we can find this. And we're not able to find that pace. We're not able to find that place where we can spend every single moment with Jesus. This is where he gives us the challenge to be able to do just that. Because what we find is about partnership over our perfection. He talks about something. He says, take my yoke upon you and let me teach you. Take my yoke upon you. Anybody here know what a yoke is? Anybody? Not an egg, right? But a yoke, it's what they would put on the oxen, right? It was this big piece of wood and would go over top of their neck right here, right? And it would hold them in place. What they did was, it was two of them. And they would put two oxen together so that they would guide each other, all right? Now, when Jesus is talking about take my yoke upon you here, it's a wooden harness, and it would put them together. Now, if a farmer was really good at his craft, if he knew what he was doing, he was actually able to take that yoke and fit it perfectly on the ox, right? And so when that fits perfectly on it, now he was in a good place. He wouldn't get any like marks or cuts or anything like that. And he would be able then to be able to move. So Jesus actually in this moment, he's saying, take my yoke. So he's saying, all right, so here I am. I'm strapped on this. Now you come right here with me. This is what's beautiful about what Jesus is saying. Jesus is not taking the yoke and saying, here, now you go. Jesus is actually saying, here, my yoke is on my back right now. Come here and take it with you. Actually go with me. This is what's great about Jesus. Jesus doesn't just say, here are the rules, go, good luck. Jesus actually says, here's the relationship that I have with you. Let's do it together. You're not in this alone. You see, we look at the yoke and we say, this is some kind of solo grind. We look at the yoke and we say, this is somehow on us. We look at the yoke and we say, it's going to rise and fall with my performance. And it's going to rise and fall with how I act and how I do things. When in actuality, you do not have to be flawless to be faithful. In actuality, we are told to walk with him. You see, what we want to do is we either want to walk ahead of him because we think we're impressing him, or that we're somehow putting on this great performance and that we've got it all together and I'm doing really good today. Or what we end up doing, we falter, we stumble, we fall, and now we're like, I feel like I'm just walking behind him. I feel like Jesus is way up there and I'm way back here, and I don't even feel like he's close to me right now. I don't even feel like we have a relationship right now. When in actuality, what Jesus says is, no, listen, take my yoke with you. Walk with me. Let's go at this pace together. Yeah, you're going to fall. Yeah, you're going to mess up. But guess what? I'm right there with you. And guess what? There are going to be days where you're sprinting. There are going to be days where you're killing the game. And guess what? I'm going to be right there with you, clapping you on. There's going to be days where you fall. And guess what? I'm still going to be there cheering you on. Because you're not just doing this alone, but we're doing this together. You see, that was the whole reason Jesus came to this earth. Jesus not only came to save us from our sins, but he actually came so that he could sympathize and understand what it means to live this life. God's word tells us that every single one of us go through the same things that Jesus went through. Jesus dealt with depression. Jesus dealt with anxiety. Jesus dealt with hunger. Jesus dealt with anger. Jesus dealt with every one of these things. And so when he looks at his disciples, when he looks at those and he says, everybody who's got weary burdens and things that you feel like you can't handle, guess what? Take the yoke. Let's do this together. Let me teach you. Let me teach you. So the yoke is how we walk with him, and it's a partnership. You see, we want to keep grabbing the reins back. We want to keep acting like we're the ones in control. We're the ones steering the ship, right? Because we're afraid in some moment that God maybe won't show up. Maybe God has something else in store and he's going to put it back up on us. But actually he says, you don't have to drag this alone. Match my pace and I will pull with you. So if it's not just about understanding that it's a presence, it's not performance, it's pace, it's not pressure, it's partnership, not perfection. But then we also learn that it's about posture and not about popularity. It's not about acceptance so that we get from the outside world, but it's actually about our posture. Look what he says. He says, take my yoke upon you, let me teach you, because what? I am humble and gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your souls. You see, Jesus finds this posture for us, and he says, listen, understand that if you walk with me, what is it that we gain from that? If we're walking together, if we're matching his pace, what do we have? We have humility and we have gentleness. How are we able to find that? How are we able to find gentleness and humility when walking with Jesus? Because that's what he showed us, knowing that we would mess up, knowing that we would sin, knowing that we would falter. But he says, no, it's no longer about if you break the rules or don't break the rules. It is actually about my grace. It's actually about my love. And you see, understand that every single one of us sit here today and we're like, listen, I know it's about his love. I know it's about his mercy. I know, but listen, I can't just walk around doing what I want to do. If we actually find ourselves in a place where we're walking hand in hand, taking on the yoke of Jesus, our desires become his desires. Our holiness is his holiness. Our righteousness is his righteousness. These things happen when we match his pace. And when we see those people who are messing up, we have loved ones who don't do everything right. We don't have this spirit of somehow, we have this posture that we're all puffed up and religious and we have it all together and that we follow all the rules, because we don't. We're only here because of the grace and the mercy that Jesus shows us. Guess what? We're able to show that to other people in our life. We're able to show that to people who maybe have never understood that it's not about a religion, but it's actually about the relationship that Jesus offers to every single one of us. So what about these things? What about these things we can do to find that peace? The practices that we perform in our life every single day. What are those practices that produce peace? This is what's great about Jesus. Because here's where we want to go with this. I want to rest, so I got to do these things. Doesn't really sound like rest. I want to rest, so I have to perform these tasks. Okay, doesn't sound very restful. What does he say? He says, my yoke is easy to bear, and the burden that I give you is light. The burden that I give you is light. He doesn't give us rules. He gives us a promise. What's the promise? My yoke is easy and my burden is light. You see, the actual translation of the word easy is not easy. It's not just, it's fine. The actual translation of the word that's used in this passage means well-fitting, perfect fitting. In other words, the burden is there. What we do is still there. But in this moment, the burden that we have on our back is perfect. It's exactly what it's supposed to be. The challenges that are in front of us, the things that we have in front of us to perform, no longer become about performance, but understanding that this is a gift given to us by God and that it actually fits well. You see, this is what's beautiful about our God is that he knows every single one of you. He knows your past. He knows your mistakes. He knows what you've done. He knows what you're doing, and he knows what you're going to do. And he loves you. And he cares about you. So he says, if you want to be a part of this, take on my yoke, because guess what? The burden that I will give you will fit perfectly in your situation. Will fit perfectly for what you are going through. Easy doesn't mean effortless. It means well-fitted. And when he talks about light, it doesn't just mean that you're not going to have anything in your life to carry, that you're not going to go through things, but it actually means this, that you are not going to carry it alone. For every single one of us, if we truly want to find peace, if we want to find rest, if we want to see that happen in our life, understand that it's the small, simple rhythms that help us come to Jesus. This morning, I want you to know that if you feel any type of burden, if you feel any type of weight on your shoulders, the invitation today is to come to Jesus. It's not do more. It's not practice more. It's not put on your hustle face and get it all together. It's not clean yourself up. It's come to Jesus. You see, many times in my life, I've wanted to make it about following the rules. I've wanted to make it about, if I just do all these things, then I know my life will be put together. Look at what it says here in 1 John chapter 5. It says, everyone who believes that Jesus Christ has become a child of God. Plain and simple, right? Everyone who loves the Father loves his children too. We know we love God's children if we love God and obey his commandments. I want you to know that's a verse that I really liked growing up. We know that we love God if we do what he says, right? Look at what it says in verse 3. Loving God means keeping his commandments, and his commandments are not burdensome. His commands do not bring on burdens. In fact, the burden that we now have is light. For every child of God defeats this evil world, and we achieve this victory through our faith. And who can win this battle against the world? Only those who believe that Jesus is the Son of God. This morning, I want you to know that if you're seeking rest, if you're seeking to get rid of those burdens and those issues in your life, I want you to know it's found in Jesus and in Jesus alone. It's the small, simple rhythms every single day. You're talking to him. You're praying with him. You're caring for those people with a gentle and humble spirit, just like God did for us. So this morning I want to leave you with this. As we've talked about for 6 weeks now, what it means for religion to be flipped. I want you guys to understand this. As we read this together, this is Jesus' invitation. When he says, come to me, this is what he wants you to see. Are you tired, worn out, burned out on religion? Come to me. Get away with me and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to take a real rest. Walk with me and work with me. Watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me, and you'll learn to live freely and lightly. Rest is given as a promise. You'll find no other place where rest is the promise. And rest isn't laziness. Understand this, rest isn't laziness, but it is a rhythm where your soul recovers so you can actually love others better. Decide wisely and keep going. Jesus does not remove all responsibility, but he removes the crushing loneliness of us having to carry it alone. Would you guys bow your heads with me this morning as we close? Today, as I pray with you and for you, there may be some of you today that are carrying something pretty heavy. Maybe you've shared it with people in your life. Maybe you haven't. Maybe you're feeling like you're all alone and you're on your own for it. I want you to know this morning, Jesus wants you to come to him. That's step one. It's not cleaning yourself up. It's not trying to follow all these steps that you're going to be able to do to get to that moment. It's starting with Jesus. Maybe this morning you're weary. Maybe this morning you're tired, physically, spiritually, mentally. Let's come to Jesus. Let's start there. Because his promise isn't more burdens. It's not more rules. It's not more judgment. It's rest. a rest for your soul, so that you can find peace that passes all human understanding. Father, I pray for every single person here today, for myself, for all of us, that as we hear this promise that you gave to your people and you give to us now, God, that you would give us rest. So often we feel the crushing weight of this world and the expectations that come alongside of it, that we wonder if we're going to make it. We wonder if we're going to fall apart. We wonder if we're going to be able to pull through. But God, too often we feel like we're on our own. This morning I pray for every single one of us, for us to be reminded that you told us to take that yoke, to latch on to you, to lock arms with you, and to walk with you, because you didn't want us to carry that weight alone. And when we do that, that burden that we carry is light. And Father, no matter if it's something that we have held on to for a long time or something that's just recently happened, God, you can give us peace. You can give us rest. So I pray truly for every single one of us that today can be a day that we find comfort and peace in you. We love you. We praise you. We ask all these things in Jesus' name.